Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where tour players, legends, and the top instructors in the game share their stories, insights, and playing lessons. Join Chris every week as he talks with the greats of the game.
You are the smartest guy I've spoken to on radio or television in my career.
And Chris, again, you're knocking out of the park. You're like 8 under par in this interview.
If I ever have any research, I'm hiring your tail to be the research man. You're the best.
You're a fantastic host and tremendously respected in the golfing community.
Yeah, Chris, you do an amazing job, and your listeners are super lucky to have you, and it's always my pleasure.
Chris Mascaro is the king of the golf podcast. Don't miss him on Tuesdays.
Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Good evening, folks, and welcome into this week's edition of Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and do I have a treat in store for you this week? The confidence doctor, Dr. Bob Winters, is going to be joining me here shortly. He's going to let you know about a hidden gem course that he played for the first time this week and he thinks could possibly be the best golf course in the state of Florida. You'll hear which one it is and why he thinks it's the best when he joins me, like I say, in a couple of minutes. He'll also take us through building a solid foundation and what the SOLID acronym stands for. It's so good that I took notes, and I intend to carry those notes in my back pocket when I play so I can refer back to them throughout the round. Following Dr. Bob, I'm going to introduce you to Keith Scioli. Keith has created an app that blows away every other teaching app or site out there, and that's no exaggeration. If you haven't downloaded or heard about Golf Live, go out to the Apple App Store or Google Play and download it and check it out for yourself. This thing is off the charts great already, and soon he's going to be adding more functionality, so it'll be like being in a simulator with your coach live. What is the app? Well, how about being on the driving range or in your backyard practicing, and you're hitting it poorly, thinking to yourself, boy, I wish I could get a live lesson from a PGA professional right now. Not sending videos back and forth of your swing, an actual live on-demand lesson with a PGA professional. Well, guess what? Now you can. Wait till you hear about it from the founder. And then we're going to wrap up with Tom Patri. And this week with Tom, it is episode number 99. So we're on the precipice of a big milestone for TP and I. We're going to talk about more missed short putts this past weekend at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. This time the player stuck around to address it with the media instead of hightailing it out of there. And we'll also talk about why your handicap is understated if you play the majority of your golf at the same golf course. So, folks, a lot in store for you this week here on Next on the Tee. But as always, my sincere thanks go out to all of you for tuning in, making Next on the Tee a part of your weekly golf content, and taking the journey with me this week. Okay, before I bring Dr. Bob into the show, I want to remind you about the great people over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a company that I have loved my entire life and have been drinking since I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Iron City Beer, best enjoyed while enjoying life. Now let's talk about golf getaways and buddies trip locations. When you're thinking about that, think about our friends over at the Macklemore, which is a wonderful resort located just south of Chattanooga, Tennessee, high atop Lookout Mountain. It is a casual 2-hour drive from Atlanta, Nashville, and Birmingham. The existing Highlands course is now ranked in the top 100 courses you can play in the U.S. by Golf Digest. The 18th hole is ranked in the top 10 finishing holes in the world. A second course, The Keep, is under construction and will open summer of 2024. The Keep is a Bill Bergen, Reese Jones design and features a 1.5 miles of dramatic cliff edge, with every inch of that edge filled up with a golf hole. A world-class hotel, Cloudland Lookout Mountain Curio Collection by Hilton, will open spring of 2024. Both have incredible views into historic Macklemore Cove, 1,200 feet below. You got to see it to believe it, folks. stay, dine, and play golf above the clouds at Macklemore. Go online to macklemore.com to book your stay and play package. Now let's talk about the new P790 irons from TaylorMade. From the very beginning, P790 irons have been rooted in clean aesthetics and thoughtful design. However, their true beauty is found beneath the surface. With AI-optimized weighting and speed foam air on the inside, every iron is uniquely designed to perform exactly how you need it to. As striking as they are on the outside, their true beauty lies within. Learn more about the new P790 irons from TaylorMade by checking out their website at TaylorMadeGolf.com. Okay, now back in his regular monthly time slot with us is the confidence doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. As you guys know, Dr. Bob joins me on the first Tuesday of every month. He is a sports psychologist, an author, and a professional educator, has his own performance enhancement company down in Orlando, Florida. He is also the resident sports psychologist at the Ledbetter Golf Academy at Reunion Resort there in Orlando. He has coached and counseled a lot of players that you know, including Brooks Koepka, Tony Finau, Lee Westwood, Justin Rose, and Michelle Wie, and I am very excited. He is back with me again this month and this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dr. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Chris, great to always to be with you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. So, Doc, you were telling me about a fabulous golf course in Ocala that you played earlier today, which is set to host the Florida Boys State Junior Championship. Tell us about that golf course.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been, around, the old pea patch quite a few times, seen a lot of great golf courses, but I'd heard about this Adina Golf and Country Club. It was opened in 2015 by a Canadian businessman by the name of Frank Stronach. And it closed in 2018, I think, due to some family litigations or whatever. And they just reopened up this past December. And I hadn't been there for a while, but I've got to tell you, it was really one of, the most enjoyable experiences, best golf courses. It was made out of 3 lime rock quarries, and it goes around this unbelievable waterfall as you actually enter the property. And you see it in the distance, and you just know this is going to be something spectacular. A lot of, different, golf courses have been around quarries like Black Diamond here in Florida. We had talk about, Stream Song is beautiful. The Mosaic Company had the phosphate quarries down there, and they built great golf courses at Stream Song. Up in Indiana, my good friends, the Smith family, Terry Smith, Chris Smith, and the family, they had a golf course called Rock Hollow, which has hosted many Indiana Golf Association state opens and state amateurs. Great golf course. But I'd never been to Adina Golf and Country Club, and I knew that I'm a member of the next women's tour on their advisory board, and we had like our ladies club championship or the ladies championship for the next tour there. And I didn't get up there to see it because I had some other obligations. But I went today because I've got, a whole host of, boys playing in the Florida State, junior championship that I'm working with. And so I just went up there to check it out, and I was just unbelievably pleased with what I saw. It was one of the very best golfing days that I've had for a long, long time. If anybody gets a chance to go to Club Adina, right outside Ocala, please do. It's unlike anything you've seen. You think you're in Texas, you think you're in Virginia. You do not think you're in the heart of Florida at all. And but it has some beautiful holes, immaculate condition. And I'm not even being paid to say any of this. I was just so impressed with it. And played pretty daggone well. And I tell you, we played it from what they call the stallion tees. And it's, really the stallion tees. Some of them even go back. I did not play one. One stallion tee had a par 5 at 700.
Oh, my.
47 yards. Yes. I didn't play the stallion tees. I played, almost all the stallion tees. And I thought to myself, after we had a 507-yard par 4, where you had to hit a drive about 265, 270-yard carry, a carry over a canyon, I thought to myself, maybe I don't need the stallion tees. Maybe I need to go to the Pinto Pony or the hobby horse tees. I don't know. And but it was a wonderful experience, and I know, that the young men of Florida are going to have a very wonderful test, outside Ocala at, the Adena Golf and Country Club. And, just, leads me to, believe that there are so many wonderful jewels, Chris, of golf courses that, no one really talks about or people haven't discovered. And I tell you, people always ask me, what's, the best golf course you've ever played? And I got to tell you, I've played so many good ones is that I'm sort of an equal opportunity sports psychologist, golf aficionado. I love them all. And I think that's kind of the way you have to be. I don't care if I'm playing at, Flat Acres Country Club or I'm playing, at Stream Song or someone like that. It's just golf is such a great game. And I get excited, to play. When I get a chance to play, most of the time I'm thinking about it a lot. And hopefully thinking about playing great golf. And that's why I'm here on the show to help people, get a little bit of a tip so they can go out and play better golf. And I always appreciate the time that you give me.
Well, Doc, I know one of the things you wanted to talk about this week was the process of playing golf. Talk about what you mean by that.
Everybody talks about, you got to trust the process. You got to trust, this or that. And a lot of people always ask me, go, what does that exactly mean? And really, the process is your foundation. It's what you do. And I think more than any strategy or technique, a player has to develop their own personal playing philosophy. And something I had gone through some of my books, some of my notes, and some of my literature that I have written, and I've done a lot of writing over the last, 30, 40 years. And I found something about 15 years ago, and I was talking about the concept of creating a foundation called being solid, SOLID, being solid. And really, when you have a solid piece of wood, a solid piece of metal, there's no gaps, there's no holes. It's a very upright piece. It stands on its own merits. And that's really what, a solid golf game really is. And a lot of people are always talking about, well, you got to get off to a great start. You've got to really, get out there and grab fire right at the very beginning. Or you've got to really get yourself into a flow-like, zone-like state, or you have to finish strong. And so I had written this article and I copyrighted it many, many years ago. And I talked about, these 5 different components. As you know, Chris, as we've talked many times in the show, I'm a real big fan of acronyms. And even when we start talking about playing great golf, I remember saying on, the Golf Channel many years ago with David Ledbetter and myself, and the host back then was Peter Kessler. And I was talking about golf, and I said golf is an acronym for gravitating to an optimum level of functioning. That's really what we're trying to do, each and every one of us. We're trying to gravitate to the very best level of golf that we can play. And if we can do that, we can tap into that talent, that will, give us a lot of satisfaction. So solid is a 5-step acronym. And so let me explain a little bit what this means. The first, S, when we talk about, starting with a solid foundation, a solid process, the S means is that you go out with a mindset that says, I'm going to be single-minded. I'm going to do everything right now in the present moment. That's really what the flow state is. If you are in the present moment, you are single-minded. You have this one at a time, one shot mindset. And why is that important that we get started like that? Because you can't start thinking about score and results and numbers because the most important number in golf is 1. So when you start off with this single-minded, one-shot mindset that says, this is what I'm going to do right now. I've always loved what Lou Holtz used to say about what does it take to win? WIN for him meant what's important now. So I always thought that was really, spectacular the way he put that. So the S stands for single-minded. I'm here, I'm in the present moment, this one shot at a time. The O stands for optimism. We get so negative in this game. A lot of people, just beat up on themselves. And nothing good, nothing positive ever comes out of a negative thought. So I think to be learned optimistic, to be open, to be composed, and always expecting the best to appear. It also means to be lighthearted, not serious and not heavy. So those, that's how we start off, with this solid component. Are you with me, Chris? Are you taking notes?
I'm taking notes. Yes.
Okay, here we go. So we've got single-minded. O means optimistic, means open, composed, and always expecting the best to show up. The L is huge because it means letting go of score, letting go of expectation, letting go of other people, what other people might be doing or saying in their group. But it's about letting them go. And letting things go and trusting what you do is one of the most important things to building trust and building confidence, is understanding that all you can do is all you can do, but that should be more than enough if you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. So letting go of all the score expectations and other people's expectations about what you should or shouldn't be doing is such a huge thing, because you're letting go of distractions that take you away from playing your very best golf. Now, when we go into the I of being solid, that means intent, your intention. On every shot, you should have this purposeful intention. This is what I'm going to do. And when we have purposeful intention, we have a clarity of focus, we have a clarity of purpose. Because I'm always telling my players, and even these players getting ready to play in the state open, or it's, the British Open, or whatever open we're talking about, is that you have to be able to commit to this one moment, to this one shot, because that's really what shot creation is all about. And if you don't commit before you step into the shot, you've already quit. So having this intention is huge. And finally, rounding out, this whole notion about being solid is the D. It means having a decisive and determined mindset. What that means is making a clear and committed decision that is determined, that has a green light mindset long before I step into the ball. Because this determined mindset is the first moment of truth, as you step into the ball. And the second moment of truth is when you actually hit the golf ball. So you've got to be able, to actually start solid, play solid, and finish solid. And for me, when you take a look at, solid players on tour, no one has been more solid than a couple of these players. One is Scotty Scheffler, the other is Xander Schauffele, another is Colin Morikawa. We've got Bryson DeChambeau, who's been very solid in the majors, along with Brooks Koepka. So these players, are very, very solid, from top to bottom. And they really have very few little gaps in their game. And I know that Scotty, was, have a little suspect there with his putter, but he actually, shored that up, and he became more solid, and then he went out and dominated. So if everybody understands, what your process is, it's built around these 5 different components. They're being single-minded, optimistic, letting go of everything, having purposeful intention, and then having a very decisive, determined mindset. And if you can get yourself, kind of moving in that direction, boy, I don't care what your handicap is, you're going to start playing some unbelievably great golf.
So, Doc, that's brilliant, and I love every piece of that. There's a couple I want to go a little bit further with you on, and that's the L and the D, and the letting go of expectation of score, right? Because when we get out on the golf course, we have expectations of ourselves, whether our handicaps are a 10 or a 12, and I'm going to shoot in the low 80s today, or I have expectations around how I'm going to play a certain hole or a shot. And then when that doesn't happen, there tends to be a bit of a letdown. If we have a blow up hole early in the round, oh, well, there I go. I made another double on this hole. I always double this hole. And then all of a sudden, things start to go south for us. What's a process? What can we do when we start to let go and to be able to be freer with just enjoying the round and letting things unfold as they do, like you started out with, hitting one shot at a time?
Well, let's really talk about what expectations are. Expectations are preset standards of performance that suggest this is the way I see something in the future happening for me. Remember, an expectation is something that's set in the future. It's something that is imagined, okay? It's something that I want it to be this way, it should be this way, and hopefully it will actually appear. Now, the problem with an expectation is when the reality of your result doesn't equal or match that expectation, what happens? When your result, your real-time outcome result, doesn't match that preconceived expectation, a person becomes frustrated, they become angry, they become disappointed and discouraged. Why? Because there's a big expectation gap between what I imagined and really what I did. So I'm always trying to help people understand the expectations, of distraction or the expectations of score, result, outcomes, expectations of hitting the ball a certain way. And people go, well, what should I expect when I go out to play? And really what I'm saying is that you should expect to step into each shot, with a new, renewed vigor. Each shot is its own creation. I don't care if you've hit 20 great shots before. This next shot you're facing, it's a new creation. And so what you should expect is, I'm going to commit myself to this new moment. I'm also going to commit to myself to giving a great effort in this moment. I'm also expect to adhere to my routine. And I expect to actually swing to my target with total trust and letting go of all these, overthinking thoughts. And finally, the only expectation that really works is accepting what has happened, be able to live with it, put it behind me, and move on into the next shot, with renewed, vigor. And those are the expectations. That's why expectations get in people's way. And the one thing, that people always ask, Chris, when Chris Mascaro comes in, the first thing they do not ask you, Chris, is, hey, Chris, did you stay emotionally stable in every shot out there? They don't ask that. The
Right.
first thing they ask is, what'd you shoot? What'd you shoot? And the reason why people are asking you what you shot, Chris, isn't because you're such a great individual and wonderful human being. They don't really care about Chris Mascaro, not really. They're more concerned with what they're doing. They are I, me. The eyes have it and they're me deep in themselves. And they're only comparing themselves to what you shot. So if you gave me a score, give me a score of like a good round that you shot, Chris. I say, Chris, what'd you
82.
shoot?
I
You shot
shot
80?
82.
82. Okay, good. I shot 78 today. I cut you by 4. Now they're done with you and they'll move on and say, hey, Tommy, what'd you shoot? You see, they're done with you. All right. And they push you aside. And so that's the whole point, is that if I can get, all of our, listeners to understand this one thing, no one really cares about your golf game more than you should care about your golf game. And when people talk to me about, well, how do I let go of score? I remember the old Satchel Paige baseball player story when he was 43 years of age and he signed his first baseball contract. I believe it was with the Cleveland Indians. He had played with a lot of other leagues before, but he signed it. He was 43 years old. He never told anybody his age. He didn't tell him his birth age, where he was from. He just told him, I can play baseball. And some of the young guys at spring training camp said, hey, Paige, how old are you, man? And in his very best Pageism, he replied, well, boys, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you was? He says, age is mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. And I started listening to that and I heard that years ago. And I thought, well, what about your score? How good would you be if you didn't know how good you was? How good would you be, and how good would you be if you didn't know how good you had to be? And I think so many players, especially those who are trying to break 80 for the first time or 90 or make their personal best, they start getting this score and they start coming down the last 2 or 3 holes. And all day long, they've been playing with this solid one shot at a time mindset. And then somebody comes up to them and says, hey, Chris, you're really close to shooting your personal best. And that makes them aware of their awareness. The next thing you know, they get tight. They start thinking about, hey, I could actually do this, instead of actually going with what has been working all day, and that is that solid one-shot mindset. And that's really what everybody has to do. You have to be thinking about playing one after one after one until I am done. And then at the end of the day, that's when you total up the score. And that's why I think here just, a few weeks ago, we had, a young man, on the Corn Ferry comes off and he looks at his mom. He goes, "How'd I do?" And she goes, "Honey, you shot 58." And he goes, "Really?" He goes, "Huh, I was just out there stringing pearls. I was just taking them one after one." And that's how it gets done, on the pro tours. That's how it gets done, at your club. That's how it gets done, at every public golf course, is that the moment that you let go of being so outcome focused and you get into a solid, one shot process, a one shot mindset, that's when the scores really start, coming around, and you start really playing the game of golf versus playing the game of score. How am I doing? Am I winning? How much money do I owe you? And those are the games that really, take us, and they take away our satisfaction and our enjoyment.
Yes, they do. The other thing you talked about is being decisive and determined, and that's a place where a lot of us could do better because the lack of commitment to a shot oftentimes leads us into we ended up hitting fat, we end up sculling the shot because we looked at what we wanted to play, we chose it, we pictured it in our minds, but then at some point during the downswing, something happens and we decel the club and then bad things happen. So being determined and decisive is a huge one as well.
Well, it is huge, and I think, I learned this, when, I was hitting, some golf balls with Johnny Miller back after he had won, the British Open, I believe in '76. And we were talking about really having a great mind, having a great focus, really seeing the target. Because back then he was known as the Desert Fox, and he was just, I mean, just ripping irons, into the flag sticks. And he was always talking about getting to this green light, if you will, almost like a traffic light. And I see so many players, and I've been talking about this for many decades, is that, how many times have you stepped into a shot? You weren't committed. You didn't really know what you wanted to do. You had the wrong club, but as you stood over the ball, you said, "I'm not ready. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm going to go ahead and hit it anyway." And you knew, and you know right then that you're going to hit a poor shot, but you go ahead and hit it anyway. And what happens? You hit it, almost anywhere, because that's where the anyway shot goes. The point I'm trying to make is when you step into the golf shot to address your ball, you want to make absolutely 100% a decisive and determined green light mindset. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, Nike made a whole career of their company with three words: just do it. And so many of us go in with, "Boy, I hope this doesn't go right. Don't go right. Don't leave it short. Don't go left." Because when we say don't, the ball goes exactly where we don't want it to go. And we go, "That's exactly where I didn't want it to happen." In my world, we call that the ironic process theory. The irony is what you didn't want to have happen, you consciously and subconsciously predetermined that, event to happen. So you never ever hit a shot when you have a yellow or a red light. You should take the time to back off. And I know a lot of people go, "Oh no, one of these mental guys telling me to take more time." I'm not saying that. But I would rather you pull off and take 5, 6 seconds to get clear, to recommit, and then step into a shot and hit it, with purpose and integrity and hitting a square shot versus going in there and just hitting this anyway shot, then spending 3, 4, 5 minutes looking for a lost ball and then having to go back and re-tee it. So to me, it just makes, common sense. We've got to get to that determined and decisive mindset. We've got to get to that green light. And I got to tell you, it's worked so much, for Johnny Miller. It's worked so much for, and so well for so many of my players over these many, many years. So it's really kind of a staple for me, is that you've got to get to that green light before you step in to aim and align yourself to your ball. So you can swing with that green light. You can swing freely with movement confidence to your target.
That's brilliant. Doc, you were recently spending some time with three of your junior players as we switched to thinking about us getting out on the golf course and playing good golf. But when we get out there, we have a team of three people that we bring with us out on the golf course. Talk about who those three people are.
Well, on Team Mascaro, okay, I always ask people, who are the three people that you really have total control of and who are absolutely vital to your performance? And so many of my young players, even some of my tour veterans will say, well, me, maybe my swing coach, and maybe my mom or somebody like that. And I go, no, it all starts with, the triad, the team. And Team Chris for you would be me, myself, and I. I mean, that is your triad because in golf, I mean, there's nowhere to go. There's no pinch hitter, no designated hitter, no relief pitcher coming in. You have to do it all for yourself. If it is to be, it has to begin and end with me. And it's me, myself, and I, because you are psychologically, emotionally, almost physically naked out there. And you can't depend on anybody else. And I've talked about this for a long time. So when you actually start taking responsibility for your thoughts, for your attitude and your actions, it's amazing how much better golf, you start to play. When you realize I'm not playing for anybody else. I'm not trying to impress anybody else. I'm playing for me. And when I play for me, you know, it's okay because, hey, I'm for me. I'm trying to be as great a player, no matter what my handicap is, as I possibly can. And more than anything, what I want people to know, I'm not trying to build tour players here. I'm just trying to have players enjoy their talent. Because when you enjoy the day and you're having fun, no matter what you shoot, you realize that, we are so blessed to be part of the greatest game in the world called golf.
Doc, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of your students. And one of your favorite students is Emily Flanagan Mata. Talk
Yeah.
about taking a student who college coaches said couldn't play at that level and helping her become not only a player at Florida Southern, but also one who became a team captain and ended up playing in 97% of their tournaments.
So many years ago, when I was at the David Ledbetter Golf Academy, and I still am after so many years, and I had, a father come in with this little stick of a girl. Her name was Emily Flanagan. And I asked her, and she had tears in her eyes, and she had just come from a meeting with the college coaches. And some college coaches said, "We love you. We want to have a place on the team for you, and but you'll probably never ever play, a tournament. You probably never travel with the team." And she looked at me and she was crying. And what I found out many years ago, when a woman cries, it isn't because she's weak or she's frail. These were tears of anger. And I asked her, I said, "What do you want to do? Do you believe you can play?" She goes, "I know I can play." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this box of Kleenex. We're going to have a good cry. We're going to get rid of all of these tears. And now we're going to get to work." And that summer, before she went into her freshman year at Florida Southern, played for the Lady Moccasins, Emily Flanagan, she got smart. She got big in belief. She got smart, aggressive on the golf course. She fell in love with her putter and her wedges and her fairway woods and hybrids. And she ended up, qualifying for the team and qualifying for the touring, part of the team. She went to 96, percent of all of her college tournaments. Her last 2 years, she was selected as a captain or co-captain. Her final year, she became first team All-American. This is Division II, but they play a big time Division I schedule. She goes on, to play Symetra Tour. She goes on to play LPGA Tour events. She now is the head assistant pro at Mountain Lake Country Club, outside Lakeland. She has been North Florida PGA Assistant of the Year, I think 2 or 3 years almost in a row. She's, a mother, has a beautiful 5-year-old boy. She's one of these people who is just absolutely just dog determined, to not fail. And when people say, who are some of your very best clients, your best students? She has to be at the top of the list. You may never have heard of her, But I got to tell you, when you start measuring heart, I mean, she came in, she must have been 89, 90 pounds. But, I saw 90 pounds of heart in this player. And she went on, to do some great things, is continuing to do some great things. And I was working with another player, and I saw her and her father getting ready to get ready for the North Florida PGA Assistants Championship at Champions Gate. And I turned around and I said, there's really one of my favorite people. And it was a nice reunion. We took some nice pictures, and it's always good to catch up with Emily. And, thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of people always ask me, you've worked with all these great players, the top players in the world. I've worked with some of the most emotionally challenged people in the world. People are really having some problems, but every one of them has been sort of, for me, kind of a magnum opus, if you will. I mean, they just, if they don't look good, I don't look good. I just really want to help people, Chris. And she was one of those people. And I saw the tears in her eyes. I saw the determination. And by golly, if, the years just didn't, prove us correct, and she worked hard, and she earned every accolade and every award that, she won. And she deserves it. And I'll tell you what, just keep your eyes out for it. Emily Flanagan Mata, I tell you, I look for her, to actually keep winning, in some of these assistant, then getting the head pro job. And we'll see what happens.
That's fantastic. One more before I let you go, Doc, and introduce everybody to who Asher Katz is.
Asher Katz, is a elite young golfer. And I met he and his mother, Nicole, and they came to me, and she said, I really have this elite young player, but I think he needs a little bit, of some mental conditioning. And I've seen him grow. I've seen him grow something like 8 to 10 inches over the last year and a half. I mean, it's like, little, like kids, I've always talked about parents, one of the toughest jobs for parents is having a young teenager and trying to keep them in shoes and pants and shorts because they keep growing out of them. And he's just a great player. And he works, with Brian O'Neill at the Brian O'Neill Golf Academy, and I work with him on his mental game, his emotional game, and he has just been winning. I mean, just this summer, he's been winning, everything. I mean, he's 14 years of age, just turned 15, so now he's kind of going into another category as far as age groups. But this is just one of those progressions, and as Asher Katz goes on, week to week, month to month, year to year, you'll be hearing more and more about him. And this is sort of really what's going on, with all of golf, all of junior golf. And I've been involved with junior golf, well, geez, ever since I helped start, the Nike Junior Golf Tours about 35 years ago. Um, it's just junior golfers. I mean, they really, by the time they're 16, 17, become what I call grizzled veterans. I mean, they're playing all these different tours, the U.S. Kids Tour, HJGT, HAGA, the Florida Junior Tours, and all of the state and national junior tours that they have, the Nota Begay Championships. And parents, are putting forth a lot of money, but I think it's money well invested because, these young kids of today, I mean, golf teaches them so much about accountability, responsibility, dealing with the hard knocks, perseverance. And yeah, Asher Katz is one of those. And he's just one of so many that I've been blessed and honored that people put me with their golden treasures and say, hey, what do you think? Think we have a chance? And I always tell people, I'm not Nostradamus, I'm not God, I don't have a crystal ball, but let's have a blast finding out how great, Asher Katz or anybody can be. And that's really, the quest. That's the dream. But you've got to have goals, you got to have daily goals, you've got to, work at it. And who knows where you're going to go. But to tell you what, it's just not the, the destination when we get there. It's always, the journey. And I've always had a really personal thing of mine is that I've always told myself, not at the top, but I'm climbing. And if I've climbed one mountain, then I'll go and I'll find another mountain to climb. So we're always climbing. And at the end, of one's life, one can look back and say, hey, well, that's a hell of a mountain range that you created right there. So that's really what we're trying to do with all these wonderful young students, help them create their own mountain range of success.
That's fantastic, Doc. Before I let you go, remind our listeners again how they can stay up to date with you, whether it's on your website or it's on social media.
They can find me at Dr. Robert Winters or Robert Winters on Instagram, on Facebook. They can go to my website, theconfidencedoctor.com, or they can go into davidledbetter.com and find me there. So, or they can just Google my name, Dr. Bob Winters, and lo and behold, I will show up. I will show up. Yeah, I will be there, So it's been great. And Chris, again, as always, you're the best. Thanks so much for having me on.
Doc, I can't thank you enough for your time and all the things that you share with us each and every month. You're just a treasure, my friend. I'm already looking forward to when you'll be back with us in August. In between now and then, all the best to you and your family.
Well, remember what I always say, Chris, the moment you change your mind, you change your game. And I'll tell you what, stay solid, my friend, okay?
Absolutely. Take care, Doc. We'll catch up again soon.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
See you, Doc. That is Dr. Bob Winters. And again, you can find him online at theconfidencedoctor.com or on social media at Dr. Robert Winters or Dr. Bob Winters. And solid. How great was that? And I absolutely took notes. Single-minded, optimism, expect the best, right? That's as Doc said, and we talk on this show all the time. A lot of times we are focused on the negative instead of being positive and where we want the ball to go instead of where we don't want it to go. So let's be positive. Let's be optimistic. Let's expect the best to happen. Letting go of the score and expectations. That isn't easy. I know it's not, because a lot of us are projecting scores and things of that nature. You heard Doc talk about it as well, right? You can get down to the last hole and someone says to you, one of your buddies is trying to put the malook on you, right? Saying, hey, you know what? If you par this hole, you could shoot your best, right? It's not letting that impede you. Letting go of the score. Have fun. Right? That's the root of our game, right? Is to go out with your friends and your family and have fun. Let go of all that other stuff. Let go of your own expectations. Let go of the expectations that you think your playing partners have for you. Just go out and have a good time, right? And then have intention on each shot, right? Focus on what you're trying to do. Hit it intentionally. Don't decel the club. Figure out the shot that you want to hit and go try to hit it. And then be decisive, right? Be determined in your mindset about that same sort of thing. Make good decisions and then go out there and hit the shot. I love that piece. I'm going to keep those notes next to me all the time. I've started keeping a notebook in my pocket. We're so used to seeing the pros reach back and grab their yardage book. Well, instead of a yardage book, I got a notebook. And that notebook is filled with lots of things about how to hit a shot, what mindset I should have. And I'm going to put solid and have all of those things right at my fingertips when I'm playing the game. Doc is fantastic, just one of the best people that you get to meet. I'm so thankful for the wonderful content that he shares with us each and every month, and I mean it sincerely. Already looking forward to August. Okay, coming up next is going to be the founder of Golf Live, Keith Scioli. Before I bring Keith into the show, I was talking with Eddie Dry, VP of Domestic Sales for Strixon Cleveland Golf, at the PGA Merchandise Show earlier this year, and I said, Eddie, I like your CBX full-face wedges. How can they help an average player like me play better? Here's what he had to say.
An average player, I use one, and I'm in some lies that you can't even believe. And I need all the help I can get. And the face is bigger, and the grooves go all the way up and all the way out to the toe. So if you hit it on the toe, you miss it, bam, there's a groove. So I like that. So I carry a 58.
There you have it, folks. Try the new CBX full-face wedges from Cleveland Golf. I also want to give a shout out to my friends over at On Point Golf and their great On Point ball marker. Get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only 3-dimensional ball marker out there with alignment technology and a removable coin that is approved to use according to the rules of golf. As you know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your 3-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and you're going to lower your scores. Do what the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals, and amateurs alike are doing now. They use the #1 ball marker in golf and they lower their scores. You know Ken Duke and Thongchai JD. They won for the first time on the PGA Tour in 2023, and they were using an On Point ball marker. Get yours at onpointgolf.us and make more putts. And oh, by the way, you can also customize the removable coin for any club, event, or corporate outing. They make really great tee gifts and custom products. That's also going to help lower your score. I use on-point ball markers. Mine is black and gold, 3D black golf ball with a gold line down the middle to help me line up my putts. It's like having a 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let it help yours? Again, onpointgolf.us. See what I'm talking about. Order yours today. Okay, now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Keith Scioli. Keith is the founder of Golf Live, which is a fantastic platform for virtual instant lessons with certified coaches. You can download their app in the Apple App Store, plus out on Google Play. Prior to starting Golf Live, he was a senior landman for Southwestern Energy. We'll find out what that is in just a minute. But I'm very excited I get to have Keith with me this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Keith, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Excited to be here tonight.
So, Keith, before we get into Golf Live, you spent 8 years at Southwestern Energy. Tell us, what is a landman?
Yeah. So I grew up in Lubbock, Texas, and went to Texas Tech. And, in the West Texas area, as you can imagine, it's a lot of oil and gas. And so that's kind of how I was raised, and the culture and whatnot. And so I moved to Houston, Texas, and started working for an oil and gas company there for about 8 years. And a landman is somebody, high level, we do all the negotiations so that we can put land together and go out and drill oil and gas wells and build pipelines so that we can take the oil and gas from the wellhead and get it to the sales point so that we can all live and survive.
Very cool. All right. That makes sense now. And when I was doing the research on you, Keith, I read that you weren't originally that interested in the game of golf. It was your brother who stoked that interest in you. Talk about how you got into the game and how golf became therapy for you.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that research. So, I was big into football and baseball really growing up, and my little brother was the golfer of the family. And when I was a junior in college, my my little brother passed away, and my therapy was to go out and hit balls or play golf with him, right, in spirit. And so I really grew to love the game, and then honestly got addicted to the game. But it was my happy place, and it was where, golf is so hard anyways that you can't think about too much other than what you're doing right there in front of you. And so it was a way for me to release and get away from all the day-to-day busy life, and be able to spend time in spirit with my brother. And so, as a lot of people would tell me, hey, and I'm very grateful for it. They would check in on you and ask how things are going, and ask, are you talking to people, et cetera. But I really found my peace at playing golf. And that's kind of how my love for the game started.
So how do you go from being a lineman to founding Golf Live?
I was a very busy professional in this oil and gas world, and got married and started having kids. Right now I have 3 kids, and it became very apparent that golf lessons were absolutely not on the priority list when you're talking about corporate America and family and being busy with day-to-day life. And this game that I absolutely loved, I had zero ability or time to get better at the game. And getting a lesson on Wednesday at 2 p.m. just wasn't an option. And so on a Saturday, per se, if I was going to go get a golf lesson, I really much rather would have used that time to actually go out and play, right? And so I found myself, there was a range that was a light up range down the or lit range down the street. And so after you put the kids down, I could get 30 minutes to go hit balls, and 8:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night. And I, even though I was in this busy world, I had a very competitive family golf tournament coming up. And so it gets very, very competitive, to be honest with you. And I, unfortunately, while I was hitting balls at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, the Wednesday before the tournament, developed the S word. I get in trouble sometimes when I talk about this story and I say the S word, but developed the S word there, and it was really unfortunate. And I just thought to myself, there's got to be somebody around the world that can help me right now on a live call and be able to fix these before I drive tomorrow morning to this golf tournament. And so that didn't really exist. And this is pre-COVID. And so then fast forward a little bit, and I started putting this idea in my head of being able to take a live golf lesson in a virtual format, but to have interactive live replay, be able to have someone show me what I was doing, even though they were 3,000 miles away from me. Right. And so started, putting it together on a piece of computer paper late at night. And there's a little bit more to the story that I'm happy to get into on the show here, but that was really the eureka moment. Was that when you went online there in 2019, there was nothing that was a credible solution for a busy professional with young kids like myself to get a lesson after the kids went down, or really just in a way more convenient manner other than brick and mortar, or really the async, texting someone a video back and forth exchange, which I just wasn't good enough to be able to take what someone said on a 30-second video and make it translate to my game whenever I could go out and practice. So I wanted something more live with discovery and dialogue.
So you come up with this fantastic idea. I'm sure it didn't come together overnight. I read it took over 2 years to build the technology, and without giving away any trade secrets or that sort of thing, talk about what it takes to put all of this great content and this wonderful app together.
Yeah, before I even set out to build it, Chris, emailed over 200 PGA professionals in the directory there online, and I got 2 responses. And of the 2, it was, "Hey, I have no idea what you're talking about, but this sounds interesting. I'm happy to get on a call." And luckily, one of them is still with us today, Alan Belden. But then fast forward, COVID hit, and we didn't have Golf Live built yet, but we were in the process of building it. And COVID hit, and all of a sudden, all these emails started coming in. "Hey, did you ever build that internet thing?" And so it really, the momentum of coaches having to adapt and learn definitely helped us. And as far as just being able to have the conversation on, hey, I think there might be a different way to go about it. And our live replay technology is extremely complex, and it's definitely not easy to go out and build. And it took us 2 years for it to work on our cell phones. And so we spent a lot of time, and we're still always spending time and innovating. We have a lot of fun stuff coming, but just for the live call, to be on a live call and the coach be able to record you in real time, immediately display that on the screen, draw, annotate, be able to show you exactly what they're talking about. And then when you hang up the call, not only are those live replays saved for you, but the entirety of the 1-hour lesson is also stored in your profile for you. So you can go back and review what was talked about on that lesson. And so that is what our patent is on. It's the ability to take these real-time live replays while the entirety of the session is being recorded as well. So every touch point is saved and monitored for you. So as a golfer, and even as a coach, you don't ever forget how many touch points you've had with your coach. And in fact, you can have a 10-minute check-in in a virtual manner really fast to see, are you practicing something right? What if you're taking lessons once every 2 weeks, and in between while you're practicing, you're actually practicing it wrong? And really a 5-minute video call would have exponentially helped you, right? And so took us 2 years to really get the live replay technology to work. And then we really went to work on the user interface. And so it's always an ongoing process, but it's taken a lot of late nights and blood, sweat, and tears, and really being obsessed with what we do every single day in order for this to come together.
So just so we're clear for everybody, Keith, the live part of Golf Live is literal, because unlike other apps, like you mentioned a little bit ago, it's not an exchange of video. I take a video on my phone, I send it in, someone takes a look at it, they send it back. This is literally live video going on, kind of like FaceTime with a lesson with your instructor who could be really anywhere in the world, right?
That is exactly right. You're on a live call, and it is much more than a FaceTime or Zoom or Google Meets, where our technology allows for the coach to, even though they're not with you, record you and then immediately display that live replay, that 5-second swing on the live call. So you're sitting there talking about it and be able to show you your live replay in slow motion or however they want to do it with drawing and annotation tools. And they can even pull up side by side, so they can go pull in Tiger Woods swing or pull in your swing from 6 months ago and do comparisons, all while you're right there on a live call. And then when you hang up, all that's going to be recorded and stored for you automatically as well. So it definitely, until you experience it, is so different that it takes a little bit of explaining for sure. But the live replay, you might as well be with your coach in a simulator, because all the information is there for you, even though that coach is 3,000 miles away. But all of our coaches are getting on a live call with you. Now, between your live sessions, you are able to do those async, video exchanges, sending video back and forth, and your coach can do a voice analysis and making sure that you're on the right track and having a good rapport and check-ins. And so that's really what we pride ourselves on. When we say you have a 24/7 coach, just like a tour professional, we really mean it. No matter where you are, you have access to your coach.
So to that point, right? Like in the example you were talking about being on the range and all of a sudden something horrible has happened with your swing. And boy, I wish someone could help me right now. Are the coaches always available? Are they notified if you're trying to reach somebody? And let's say the coach you've been working with isn't available. Is somebody always available for you within reason that can help you in the moment?
Yes. So currently we have about 380 coaches in 12 different countries. So we got most all the time zones covered for sure. But you're most likely going to find someone if you need them immediately. Now, most of the time, we people do schedule in advance, but we have an on-demand call function so that you don't even have to schedule. If you're already connected with your coach, let's say maybe you've been meeting with them for a while, you can just click a button and it calls them just like FaceTime. And that call pulls up all of our video technology. So even though it seems like a FaceTime, you're going to have all of our technology built in. That call is going to record and save. But if you've never visited the app before, you can go on and see all of our coaches and message them and say, hey, I have a problem and are you available right now? And find one pretty quick.
One of the other things that I love about this app, and you say that your coaches have given more golf lessons on Golf Live off the range or off the golf course than on it, because the technology allows us to get a lesson whenever and wherever we want it. So we can be in our backyard, in our garage, wherever, and plug in with somebody. Talk about that.
That's exactly right. We made a marketing video, and I think some people thought it was fake, and it was all real. And we got permission from the golfers to use their videos. But we have had people taking lessons in airports. We've had people taking lessons in their garage. Obviously, we've had people hitting balls into lakes, hitting balls into forests. You name it, we've most likely had some sort of golf lesson there, and it's pretty fascinating. And we even had one of our coaches posted the other day, a 12-year-old kid was in, I believe, Pennsylvania, and went and played a full 18 holes, and his coach was down in Florida, and coach did a full playing lesson with him.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's literally like your coach is standing right there with you. He just put the phone on the golf cart and had his coach with him the whole time. So there's the possibilities are endless. We've had coaches in Australia giving a little girl in China, 12-year-old or 13 or 14-year-old girl in China, a golf lesson, right? And so it's pretty wild, everything that we can do.
Yeah. So talk about some of the other features that you've built into the app.
Yeah, so we have the async voice analysis that you can send back and forth with side by side and comparisons. But also we have live streaming with our live replay built inside of it. So you think about Instagram Live or Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Well, our live streams are actually the coaches giving a golf lesson to somebody else and can use our live replay technology to show the audience exactly what he might be talking about instead of just talking to the screen. And so, again, it becomes very interactive, and the golfers can type in question, or the audience can type in questions. Whether sometimes we have coaches getting on other coaches' live streams to learn from them, right? And so our live stream feature is very popular, and so that's really how we get to larger audiences as well. And I go back to my roots, although this isn't necessarily a technical feature, because from a coach's standpoint, right? And if there's any coaches listening, please inquire with us. We are always wanting to grow, and a lot of our coaches bring their own students, right? Because we are a full turnkey business management solution. This is not just a virtual lessons platform. We have calendar integration. We do payment processing. So coaches can set up their own memberships. They can set up their own packages for their one-off lessons, their async lessons, their live stream packages. It's all there for them to go set up and be able to run their own business. Their live streams post like content on their page like they would a YouTube page. So they can continue to resale that material. And so whether you're, because we have in-person lesson capabilities, whenever you're a coach, all the in-lesson, video apps out there are, we have that built in. And so your student can go subscribe to you on the platform, and boom, you have all of our technology, and you just combine 5 apps into one. You no longer have to send a Venmo request or have them schedule you over here, or get on a FaceTime call over here, or use another app to store their videos. It's all in one place. And we're really the first to the market that of its kind that really has everything in one place. And it's not really a feature, but one thing that's near and dear to my heart, going back to the original question on the podcast here, is we actually do a lot of B2B, and we will go into companies, and whether it be commercial towers with commercial real estate firms, or whether it be independent companies, and do golf setups so that and assign a coach to that company so that their employees or their clients, etc., at lunchtime, they can actually go and take a 30-minute lesson with their coach. And now they're getting better at the game of golf, which we believe in the power of golf with business. And they're not taking time away from their family to do that. And instead, they're doing it on their lunch hour early in the morning. And they're literally walking downstairs into whether it be a simulator they set up or a net and mat, and they're able to meet with the professional.
Wow. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. So we're having a lot of fun with that, and that's near and dear to my heart, right? That's where the idea really came from, is being able to get better even though you have a busy life. So that's really who we love to serve.
You guys landed a big instructor on the platform last year. Talk about getting Chris Como to join Golf Live.
Yeah, Chris is phenomenal. He really pushes the limits whenever it comes to technology, and he's a phenomenal mind, and I love working with him. So we met, and I explained kind of what we were working on, because it definitely was not where it is today whenever I first met with him. And his vision has really pushed us, especially with the live stream technology. But he, as you know, when it comes to technology and science, that's really, what he is very good at. And so anytime I tell him, hey, I'm not sure we can do that, he'll say, why? And so it's very good to have someone like that on your team and behind you, really pushing you. And he's a phenomenal guy to work with. So whenever we had met and told him what we were doing, he said, I really want to hear more about this. And so we got to talking and diving into it about the vision and really what this could do for the game of golf, and for coaches specifically being able to scale their business, not just always exchanging time for money, but also being able to scale to global audiences, and have these live streams and be interactive with content and whatnot. So he's been a really awesome person to work with. Obviously, all his tour players that he's had, we've had a lot of fun conversations. So definitely enjoy Chris, and we've had a plethora of other instructors coming on that are just as his caliber. And so it's been a really incredible journey to have these conversations.
Yeah, I saw one of our good friends here on the show, John Hughes, is another one of the available coaches. So I was very excited to see that he was a part of this.
I didn't know that you knew John.
Yeah, John's a wonderful friend. He's been on the show many times.
John is fantastic. And, John in Florida has given lessons to a student in Russia on the app.
Wow.
Yeah.
The reach is amazing.
And yeah, it's really phenomenal. And so John is a fantastic coach that we are very blessed to have on the platform.
You guys have been recognized as a top tech golf startup to watch in 2024. That had to be a huge show when you guys heard about that.
Yeah, I got that phone call, and I got to say, and I've said it before, so it's kind of like beating a dead horse if anyone's ever listened to me before. But when you start something like this, you really got to be obsessed with what you're doing, because especially when you first start, you're going to get punched in the gut 9 times out of 10, and so you got to be a crazy person to want to be excited for your feet to hit the ground and go get punched again. And so it's very difficult. It's very hard to be all rosy about it. It's very difficult, and to get news like that and to hear people talking about us like that after really, we're about 4 years into this, of at least building it. It definitely is a pinch me moment that, hey, we're taking really great strides forward and in the right direction. And so it definitely motivates you to keep on changing the game. And we have some really cool things coming up right around the corner here. So it's we're very excited.
So again, without giving away trade secrets, can you give us a peek under the tent? What are you guys trying to do as we look into the latter parts of 24 and maybe ahead into 25?
Yeah. So there's one specific thing that we're working on right now, and the standpoint of while a golfer is 3,000 miles away from you, we are working on their launch monitor data actually populating for the coach to see in real time. And so then you really will be in a simulator. So not only will the coach have all your video and being able to do the live replays and being able to display everything for you in real time, but also all of your swing data is going to populate for them as well, and for you as the golfer. And so the coaches will literally be able to coach on their couch and have the exact same information as if they were in a simulator.
It's absolutely mind-boggling technology and the things that you guys have put together, Keith. I'm thrilled, and I can't wait to get on the app and check it out, because this is absolutely fantastic technology that you have come up with. So kudos to you for those 4 years of pain that you went through and the punches to the gut and all that sort of stuff, because it seems like you've come out the other end way ahead of everybody else.
Well, I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. And we're very excited at where we're at today, and we're very proud of where we're at and all the coaches and golfers that we serve. And it's coaches use it for their own business and their own students, and then also we have the marketplace side that we're feeding them students. And so it's a fantastic partnership anytime we work with a coach. And to see the tech where it's at today compared to 2 years ago is just so fun and very motivating. And so we're very, very proud of where we're at today and excited for the future. But I'm most proud of our team and our coaches and people that have been very patient with us. We've showed up to our very first PGA show without even really having a platform yet. It was I got a booth and I had an app kind of built and explaining it to coaches. And some people signed up saying, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll learn with you. And we still have some of those coaches with us today that witnessed something that wasn't ready to where it is today. And so I'm very, very grateful for people giving us that opportunity to be able to shine today and be able to display everything that we have built. So kudos to everybody else for opening us with welcome arms. And yeah, we're really running with the wind now, and it's been a lot of fun.
Keith, for our listeners that, like me, want to go out there and download this app and continue to follow all the great things that you're doing, how can they do it on the app stores and in Google Play? And then how can they also do it online and on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. You can download the apps and in either the iOS or Google Play Store. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Golf Live App, and our website is also www.golfliveapp.com. And as a golfer, you can get on for free and immediately start exploring and talking to coaches and be able to see their different packages, etc. And as a coach, we do vet every single coach that gets onto the platform, and you can get on there, sign up, send in an application, and our team will be with you as soon as possible. And so that's pretty much how to get started with us.
That's fantastic. Keith, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your night to come and be a part of the show this week. This is very exciting stuff. I can't wait to download the app and start playing around and interacting and just see everything as it works, because as you've described it, again, this is light years better than what anybody else is doing. So again, congratulations for getting it out there and for everything that you put into this. This is going to really change the game.
Well, I'm very appreciative of those kind words. Thank you very much for having me on and for letting us share the good word, and excited to go grow the game and change the game forever. So thank you very much, Chris, for having us on tonight.
Absolutely. Keith, stay cool, my friend. All the best to you and your family. I hope we get the opportunity to catch up with you as you're getting ready to release the next generation of this thing, because I just know it's going to keep continuing to get more and more exciting. Thank you very much for being here. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Chris. You have a good night.
You too. That is Keith Scioli, folks. And again, Golf Live. And by live, it's literally live. Can you imagine all of this data flowing back and forth? You're talking to your coach in real time. You're doing an actual playing lesson with your coach live as you're going around playing on the golf course. You're getting your lesson on your schedule, on your time. And then as he evolves this app to where all of our data is going to come across in real time, how great is all of this stuff? I mean, to think that you might be out there getting ready to play in a whatever golf tournament, your buddies or whatever, and suddenly things go wrong. You're not having to wait to send video back and forth with your instructor. You're going to do it live right there on your phone. That's fantastic stuff. I'm kind of blown away by this thing. I can't wait to download it and see and check it out for myself. I'll report to you guys, but I want you guys to go out there and download this thing and report to me and let me know what you think. I mean, this is just fantastic. I want to see what you think about this great technology. And as it continues to add things to it, stay up to date with me. Let me know. Send me notes, whether it's on through email, chris@nextonthet.net, or on social media at CT Mascara. You can find me there on Instagram and on Twitter. And then also you can find me on Facebook as well. This is fantastic stuff. I mean, kudos to Keith. I'm sure it wasn't easy putting all this together. Like I said, I read it took him a couple of years. It actually seems like it took a couple of years more than that. And I'm sure along the way, took some punches to the gut, people giving him feedback or whatever, or things not working the way he wanted it to, persevered, kept going. And now he's developed something that is way better than anything that is out there on the market. So kudos to Keith. We'll get him back on the show again soon. Okay, before Tom Patri joins me, I want to remind you about our friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
Okay, now back in the house is our resident director of instruction, Tom Patri. You guys know you can find Tom down at Twin Eagles Club in Naples, Florida. He's got a newly renovated indoor facility there, complete with all the toys, technology, and grumpy old men that you're ever going to need. And he is back with me again here this week on Next on the Tee. Good evening, TP. How are you, my friend?
Chrissy boy.
Hey, Tommy. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chrissy, man. What's going on, big man?
I'm telling you what, you should have heard this last guy, Keith Scioli. You need to get on this golf live thing. Unbelievable with the technology that this guy's put together. I want you to check it out and tell me what you think.
I will check it out. I will definitely check it out.
All right, this past weekend, my friend, the Rocket Mortgage Classic, we saw another putting meltdown, this time by Akshay Bhatia. Came to the 72nd hole, Tom, needing a birdie to win, par to get into a playoff with Cam Davis. Pushed his shot a little bit on the approach to the 72nd hole, about 35 feet left. Then left his next putt 4 feet short, and then he missed that. Not quite Rory's putts, but still brutal.
Yeah, I actually caught the end of that golf tournament, and I've watched this kid now. He intrigues me. One, how young he was when he turned pro, and how inexperienced, and how much he's persevered. He's won once now. He's won twice actually now, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
And really kind of a gutsy little performance, skinny little thing, hits it really a mile for his size, and didn't have a 3-putt for the entire tournament till the last hole. And that first putt he left painfully short. I think you're being generous at 4 feet, but it was not a very good lag putt to say the least. And the second putt was not very impressive at all. Didn't really even scare going in. Again, not Rory like you'd say, but it was not. It's hard to watch whether you like the player or don't like the player. As a golfer and as a professional, you don't wish anything bad on anybody, because the golf gods are going to come back and get you if you do that. But we've watched now the Rory episode a couple weeks ago. We watched this episode now. I'm not sure that the general public really understands the amount of pressure you carry with you when you're playing a golf tournament like that, when you're in contention coming down the stretch. If you go back in that tournament too, Chris, the Cameron Young performance coming down the last 4 or 5 holes was not exactly sterling either. And these guys, the best players in the world. I mean, it's not like it's Mr. 25 handicap at the club whacking it around. These guys are really talented people who work very hard on their golf games and best on the planet. And man, that pressure is just enormous that they carry around out there. It was not fun to watch that.
He said he played conservatively on the back nine. He left a number of putts short for quote-unquote safety reasons. But as we say all the time, Tom, playing prevent defense never wins you anything. I was surprised at the mindset there.
Yeah, I didn't hear that quote, Chris. If that's true, I got to tell you, I really disagree. I remember watching a long time ago in my career, watching Jim Flick, the great Jim Flick, give Tom Lehman a lesson very, very early in his career. And Lehman talked about, Jim, sometimes I get out there on the 12th or 13th hole and I got to go in and I want to cut across to the clubhouse and go in. And Jim says, the only thing you should do when you're 10 under is try to get 11. And when you're 11, try to get 12. When you try 12, get 13. And Lehman kind of looked at me and said, listen, on the PGA Tour, when you stop trying to make birdies, somebody's going to run over you from behind. And on a golf tournament like that, where, you're in a scoring mode on a golf course that is very scoreable, you can't take your foot off the gas.
The one thing that I did like from Bhatia is he was un-Rory-like afterwards. I mean, he stood there with the press and answered questions. He said, it sucks. No other way to put it. And he went on to say, I mean, it's hard. You've got so much slope there, so you don't want to run it 5 or 6 feet by. Yeah, a little bit of nerves, honestly. I'm human. So I thought he put it perfectly. I mean, I'm sure he was upset with himself. He was honest and said, yeah, it sucks. I didn't do it. I'm human. All the things Rory didn't do, he did. And for that, I appreciate, him being willing to stand up.
Oh no, I know that. You and I have had that Rory discussion already off the air, and what we thought about him not showing up after that and not hanging and talking, not only talking to the press, but not congratulating Bryson. Um, it wasn't some guys in our world, in our world of reporting and discussing the game of golf as quote unquote experts, really let Rory off the hook pretty easily, I thought. And I just thought, poor Rory. Well, you know what? Not poor Rory at all. That was a really classless act, not posting up there and your man here this week posting up and standing up in front of the camera and at a time when it had to be very painful. It is very classy. I mean, and it's just part of the game. I mean, somebody wins and somebody loses every week. And generally, the guy that loses did something to lose, unless he just got run over by great play. And standing up in front of the camera or standing in front of people asking questions for 35 or 40 minutes is not a lot of fun. But it's part of being a professional. And Rory took a swing and a miss on that one.
Tom, I continue to be concerned about the state of professional golf. Last week, Seth Waugh, CEO of the PGA of America, resigned essentially effective immediately. I saw the story on the 27th, and it was effective June 30th. He joined Keith Pelley, who was the CEO of the DP World Tour. He's resigned. Martin Slumbers, CEO of the R&A, is stepping down at the end of the year. So 3 of the top 4 guys in professional golf have resigned. The 4th guy, Jay Monahan, should have been fired months ago. You throw in Jimmy Dunn resigning from the PGA Tour Policy Board, and professional golf is starting to feel like a house of cards about to fall in. It's too coincidental that we've got those 3 guys leaving the game of golf. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Is that your conspiracy theory?
I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory. It's too coincidental
No,
that we've lost those guys.
It's not a coincidence at all. I mean, I think that right now, with probably more than we know that's going on behind the scenes between the PGA Tour, Live, maybe throw in Augusta National, the USGA, the R&A. There's a lot going on, I'm sure, behind the scenes right now, and the Saudis have kind of orchestrated this chaos a little bit, and I think there's a lot of people in positions that are just saying, you know what, this is getting a little bit too ugly. I don't want to be or need to be a part of this. I mean, I was very disappointed in the Seth Waugh resignation because he's such a good guy and he's such a smart guy. But I'm sure internally he looked around and there are a lot of things going on and people and personalities that weren't really the kind of things he wanted to be around. The Jimmy Dunn thing still baffles me that somebody like Patrick Cantley is supposedly the smartest guy in the room. There's a lot of things that don't feel very good about the game we love right now. No, I don't think we're in a good place. I agree with you. It's not good at all.
Switching gears, Tom, Golf Digest has an article on their front page online titled 7 woods are all the rage for good reason. Should the 9 wood be next? For amateurs like me, should we be taking the 4 and the 5 iron out of the bag now and replacing them with 7 and 9 woods?
I put a 7 wood in my bag at the recommendation of somebody at Titleist that's a lot smarter than me about club fitting about a year and a half ago. And I did it under protest. And a year and a half later, I can tell you that it's probably my favorite club in the bag right now. And it replaced the 4 iron. Sometimes, actually, depending on wind conditions, it could replace a 5 iron if the situation was right. It is so easy to hit. I feel it's almost like cheating. I did not read the article concerning the 9 wood, so I can't speak to that. But 2 years ago, I would have laughed at that suggestion. I'm not laughing right now. And for the amateur recreational player, I don't know very many recreational players that I teach at the club level that can hit a 4 or a 5 iron very, very well. So I would tell you that for the club golfer, certainly that's got a 3, 4, or 5 iron in their bag. I think they're really missing the boat because these, I'll call them lofted woods, are so forgiving and so easy to hit and get up in the air. And and the ball seems to pop off the face so nicely now. I think it's something that should be looked at by every amateur golfer out there.
Something else I read recently was an article by Drew Powell, and he talked about those folks who play the majority of their golf either at their home golf course, whether you're a member at a country club and you play the most there, or it's just a public golf course, but you choose to play that one over and over and over again. Your handicap is artificially lower than it should be. And here's the question about why. If you know every contour and break in the greens and in the fairways, you may be able to get it around reasonably well, even when you're playing poorly. But when you go to an unfamiliar golf course, you might struggle to break whatever it is, 100, 90, 80, whatever, because you don't know every blade of grass there. Is that something that you see and talk about with your students regarding, hey, you may have a really great handicap, but you need to play other places in order to really test yourself?
Because I think that's an incredibly great question, because I deal with it every single day. I when people say to me, my handicap is X, I say, I really don't really care what your handicap is. What's your scoring average? And they look at me like, what does that mean? I said, well, do you hole out every putt? Do you knock in every 2 and 3 footer? How many times do you pick the ball and put it in your pocket and say, give me a 6? I'm really not a big fan of the handicap system at all. So with my more serious players, regardless of their skill level, I kind of insist that they keep a scoring average. And I kind of insist that they don't pick it up and put it in their pocket, that they do hold their 2 and 3 footers. And I said, and I tell them, do you want to play golf or do you want to play country club? Which do you want to play? Do you want to be a golfer or do you want to be a country clubber? I think there's a big difference there. The great Bobby Jones once said, golf and tournament golf have nothing to do with each other. And boy, is that true. So I'm not a big fan of the handicap system today. I think there's a false narrative there. And certainly I say to them, does your game travel? Do you know how to play the game well enough? Do you understand how to play the game? Not how to swing a club. Do you know how to play the game well enough that you can go to another place and understand, define, and be able to pick out the nuances of that place that you've never been before and make great decisions that will lead to great scores? Can you do that? Are you astute enough to do that? How high is your golf IQ? And in most cases, people can't do that, and to your point, their game does not travel.
Tom, you've got all the technology and all the toys at your new indoor academy there at Twin Eagles. All of those numbers are nice, but how do you translate those numbers into English so we understand why the ball did what it did?
Well, I try very hard, Chris, with every person who walks in the door. To listen, I want to explain this technology to you. I want to explain whether it's a body track, ground force situation, whether it's TrackMan, whether it's a video situation, and what you're seeing visually on video. How does it translate to these numbers, and what do these numbers actually mean? And one of the things I try very hard not to do is put too many things up on the screen at the same time. So if anybody knows anything about TrackMan, you can have 27 data points running at the same time if you want to. I very rarely have more than 2 data tiles up at a time. I pick out something I think is wrong with the student's golf game or golf swing or the shot shape they're hitting, and I put the appropriate tiles up, 1 or 2 of them that relate to what's going on in that person's game. And when they hit a shot, I show them on video what's happening visually, and then show them the data tiles and what they're exactly saying to that student, and how we can. And the real key with this technology, that a lot of young teachers miss, Chris, is they get these numbers up and they bark out these numbers to students and they explain to them, hey, listen, this is what just happened. But the real art to teaching is, okay, now how do you fix it? Okay, you told me what's going on, you explained the numbers to me, you showed me the video. Now how do we fix it? And most of them just stop there and they go, no, well, this is what's happening. I see what's happening. I got it. Now how do I fix it? So that's the real art of teaching, explaining them, educating them, showing them, and then saying, okay, this is what's going on. Now here's how we're going to fix that.
Yeah, you did a video that I loved where you're sort of talking to your fellow coaches where you talk about, the student says, well, what should I do instead of what I'm doing? And you point out, you've got to have an answer when that
Right.
student asks that question. You got to have an answer for the cause, the effect, and then the cure, right?
The cure, right, exactly. So most of these young teachers are really good at cause and effect. They're not really, and a lot of them I watch and listen to on social media don't really tell them or speak much about the cure. Hey, this is what happened. This is what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. But they don't explain the cure. And they certainly don't explain how hard it is and how long it will take to change the actual physiology and have a cure that's cemented and will last over time. This is not, Burger King. Special orders don't upset us here. It takes time to change the physiology of a golf swing a lot of times. And I think you have to be really, really, really brutally honest with the person that's paying you to educate them and be honest with them about, listen, this is what's going on. We figured it out. This is how we're going to fix it. But just because you have the information, I can't really speak to how long it's going to take because everybody's different. How much time you're going to put into this, how diligent you're going to be with the drills I've assigned, how diligent you're going to be about doing the drills exactly as I've assigned them. And I can't speak to how long this is going to take because I don't know how hard you're going to work at this.
Tom, switching gears again, the next time that I get to have you as part of the show, it's going to be Open Championship Week. It's played this year over at Royal Troon. The last time we were over at Royal Troon and we saw the great battle between Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson.
Who?
But Phil Mickelson, you've heard of him?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Never heard of that guy?
No.
Maybe you've heard some of the other winners. Maybe you've heard of Bobby Locke won there. Arnold Palmer
I have.
won there. You've heard of him. Tom Weiskopf got his only major victory there. You've heard of him. Tom Watson, he won there. Maybe got him. Our friend Mark Calcavecchia, he won it there back in '89.
I know Mark.
Okay.
Yep.
Got some of those names. Good. So we all know weather always plays a factor at an Open Championship, right? Whether the winner is a couple under or way under. Stenson, when he won in 16, was 20 under there. Watson, when he won in 82, was only 4 under. So we have all of those things to look forward to at championship week. What are you looking forward to seeing this year?
I've had the pleasure, Chris, of playing that wonderful golf course twice.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the first time, I remember going there for the first time, and you play 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're like, really? It's kind of, just drive it down there, hit some kind of short iron in there. It's not, the first 4 holes are not very, very special at all. And you're like, this is the great Royal Troon. And then all of a sudden, you get up on the 5th tee, and going forward, all hell breaks loose. I mean, it all of a sudden just punches you right in the face and says, "Oh, really? You were making fun of us 4 holes ago. How's it feel now?" And it's one of those places that it's a little bit quirky in spots, but not really overly quirky, but a little bit quirky in spots. And then once you're round the turn and you get on the 10th tee shot from the championship tees might be one of the hardest tee shots I've ever seen in my life anywhere on this planet. It's blind over a hill. There's a railway track down the right-hand side that feels like it's pushing up against your right temple. And there's these big mounds to the left, and you don't have any clue about really where the fairway is because you're not looking at anything on the horizon you can really aim at. It's mentally and visually a very, very difficult tee shot. And by the way, it's a hard hole, and the green complex is literally, I mean, the way I remember it is literally up against the railway track. So the second shot is no bargain either if you get it in play. And then it doesn't get any easier on the way in. If the wind doesn't blow and it's firm and fast, it'll be a low score. Those guys are so good, it'll be a low score. If the wind blows there, especially if there's crosswinds on that golf course, it could be almost anything. Almost anything can win. That's why you see such a wide range of winning scores there, because weather plays such a factor. It's a really cool place too. It's got a great vibe to it. The village is right there. It's just a cool place. And you and I are both big Masters and Augusta fans, and it's certainly my favorite. But the British is my second favorite, and it's actually, I got to tell you, it's very close to my Augusta feeling as far as how much I enjoy watching the Open Championship. I'm trying to think what year it was, Chris. The second time that the Open Championship was played at Turnberry, I missed qualifying for the Open Championship by a shot.
Oh.
And I remember leaving that qualifying because I made a wonderful double bogey on the last hole of the qualifying. It's missed by one.
Oh.
It's really good taste in my mouth. And I remember driving from the qualifying site. It was called Glasgow Gales, and I drove about 20 or 30 minutes over to Turnberry. I guess because I really wanted to torture myself, and stood in the middle of the 18th fairway with all the stands already up, thinking about what the chance I just missed. And that setting on 18 in Open Championships, the size of the structures of the stands on 18 feels like you're playing into the Roman Coliseum or something like that. It's so cool. Links golf is so special to me. So the whole Open Championship thing is just something I really look forward to.
Well, you know what I'm really looking forward to, Tom? The next time you are on the show, that week of the Open Championship, is going to be appearance number 100.
No way.
Yes.
Maybe it might be time to retire me, Chris.
You think? 100 episodes, you're done?
Might be time to retire me. Nobody wants to listen to my nonsense anymore. Really. Who wants to listen? You don't want to listen. My wife doesn't want to listen. My dog doesn't want to listen. I mean, who wants to listen to my nonsense? Is it really that's 100th show?
100th show, yes. It'll be your 100th appearance during the week of the 152nd Open. So very close.
That's crazy. Does that mean that's about as old as I feel too? About 100. So. I didn't know that.
No doubt.
I didn't know that.
How about that? So
you're
looking forward to it.
You're way too kind to have me on that many times, man. you gotta have either a real shortage of talent or a real tolerance for stupidity.
Well, I have a real tolerance for pain. That's what it is. I got a high tolerance for pain.
And I got to tell you, we've it's been very clear to our listeners over the years and over the time we've been on together that you're a huge Red Sox fan, and I'm a huge Yankee fan, and nor the twain that ever meet. But your Red Sox are severely overachieving right now, and my Yankees are really underachieving currently right now. And you and people don't know we speak almost every morning for some period of time on my way to work, and we talk about this all the time. But you are poo-pooing your Red Sox at spring training, and they're really playing above sea level right now.
Well, they're playing above their heads. That is very true. And look, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also not ready to fully buy in. And I'll tell you why. Because I want the owners to make a commitment to this team. They did that in the past, but it seems like for the last 4 or 5 years, they're into other things, like professional golf, like soccer. They're invest in the Red Sox, will you please? Come on.
You know what? As I tell you every morning, I'm going to tell the listeners, I'm going to call you Eeyore. You're like, I want you to be Winnie the Pooh, but you're Eeyore. Your glass is only half empty. Your Red Sox are playing well. Be grateful they're playing well. They're overachieving. They got some nice young talent. They're going to be fun.
I think in the long term they are going to be fine because we got a heck of a farm system and a lot of really good players that are at AA and inching their way into AAA. So I'm very optimistic about 26. I'd like to be as optimistic in 24 and 25, and I would be if I felt like the owners were invested as much as the fans.
You just told me you had a wonderful farm system. Isn't that an investment?
Great job by the scouts. Great job by the scouts.
You can't have it both ways, dude.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Don't tell me. This is my show. I can have it any way I want it. Tom, before I let you go, remind our listeners how they can stay up to date with you.
Chris, all the regular places, Instagram, where else on my Facebook? I don't LinkedIn, the website's tompatri.com. I'm at Twin Eagles in Naples. Come down and visit. It's a great facility. We just renovated our practice facility and our teaching building. It came out really, really good. It's a great room with a lot of neat stuff in it right now, and I'm thrilled with it. And as I've always said, I've only invited you down 117 times, and you've turned me down 117 times. So I'm done asking, but you're certain the doors are welcome whenever you decide to, come downhill.
Downhill indeed. Tom, you're the best, my friend. I can't thank you enough for coming back tonight. I know you had some other things, and the fact that you're here kind of doing late night double duty, I appreciate it very much. You're the best.
No problem. Anytime for you, Chris. Thanks for having me on, pal.
Absolutely.
Bye, buddy.
See you, Tom. That is the great Tom Patri, folks. Again, at Tom Patri Golf is where you can find him on social media. TomPatri.com is his website, and he didn't mention, but be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot of free playing lessons waiting there for you. And as I say all the time, he's the best and a wonderful instructor and an even better friend. Can't wait to episode number 100 when we do that in a couple of weeks. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this week's edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks again to Dr. Bob Winters, Keith Scioli, and Tom Patri for joining me this week. Scheduled to be here next week are our friend Jonathan Shusky, the oldest college golfer when he made the team at Stephen F. Austin University, did so in his 40s. He's going to be back with us. Julie Ray, one of the stars of the recently released movie Playing Through, about the life and legacy of Anne Gregory. And if you're not familiar with the movie or who Anne Gregory is, check it out online at playingthroughthemovie.com. It's available to watch out on Amazon Prime Video. Very excited to have Julie as part of the show. A guy that I'm completely fascinated to get to know, Jeremy Jean Marie, is going to be here making his Next on the Tee debut. If you're not familiar with him, please go on Instagram at Golfing with Jeremy and give him a follow. It's going to be a lot of fun having him as part of the show. And then we'll round things out with a return visit from Golf Channel host Damon Hack. We know what a great host and interviewer Damon is, but he is a 10 times better person than he is an interviewer, so that lets you know how great he is. Very excited he is going to be back as part of the show. It's going to be an amazing one, folks. I hope you'll come back and join us. Quick reminder and a thank you to our friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for hosting this show on their site. You can find it by going to triblive.com and click on sports in the sports section. You'll find the most recent episode right there available for you on the homepage of the sports section. If you click on sports and then podcast, you're going to see the Next on the Tee logo. Click on that, and you're going to be able to listen to every episode from this season available for you right there. You can also find this show on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audio Boom, and Player.fm. And as I say every week, my sincere thanks to the great folks over at Good Pods for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But most of all, as I say every week, and I mean it sincerely, my thanks to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate you all so very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.